But I want to go down to the lowlands, the low country, sorry, and go check out Charleston versus Tampa Bay at first with the championship tactics show.
Charleston Battery start this play in what looks like a normal 4-2-3-1, but there's unseen complexity because of Emilio Icaza, a player that's the number 10, but filling deep as if he is a proper center mid in this instance. Icaza brings that intelligence, and you see him jump a passing lane here, immediately pushing upfield into more of a traditional role. He's clever. He knows he can pin this center back for Tampa Bay by just pushing in behind, thereby granting Cal Jennings the space to keep moving, draw more defenders, and eventually slip Juan Torres in behind. This is the cleverness that Akaza brings to the table that elevates Charleston when it matters against strong opponents.
Yeah, there was just a lot of fun stuff in this match. I do want to get to the clip that was shared by our good friend Ben and Charleston Battery's socials. I do want to get there. But overall, I saw a lot of great things from Charleston. Shocker. There was just so much good there. You mentioned Yakaza. He was great. I also want to look at the other side where Tampa Bay is starting to show signs that they can be pretty good. They decided to run back the, 2023 roster and said that went pretty well for us with Neil Collins. And I saw a little bit of that again, and that was very pleasant to see. But in the end, Charleston's just at another level.
I mean, I think for me in this game, we've been waiting for classic Charleston to really rear their heads. This felt like they had the balance. And I've liked some of the experimentation we've seen, whether it's like Douglas Martinez at the number 10 spot, some of the rotation at fullback. This was a classic lineup. You've got Allen and Malloy together behind Ikaza. As I highlighted in the tactics show, I thought Ikaza had a terrific game, and he's a terrific player overall. And honestly, I'm going to push back on the Rowdies point. I was pretty disappointed in this showing from them. Bright coming out of the second half when they finally decided, oh, wait, we should like move without the ball and interchange a little bit. But overall, I thought there was a lot of ball watching. I thought they were slow in terms of their build. It's a lot of warning signs that make me think, man, this might be a tough season for Tampa Bay. And yes, coming on the end of a long road trip as they wait for Al Lang to get workable for the season. But I don't know, just the vibes feel off right now down in Tampa.
I think the reason Charleston probably felt a little bit more classic Charleston as well, like in addition to what you said, John, is just like the amount that Aaron Malloy was in this, right? Like I just think that Aaron Malloy being the sort of centerpiece of this team and like who the play typically travels through, it just has to be part of how they play because he is such a difference maker. And he probably might be a little bit disappointed with himself in terms of some of the finishing because he does end up on the end of a couple of moves where he probably could have made this a little bit bigger margin. But all that being said, I think we haven't seen him as involved in the games where Charleston maybe doesn't feel like vintage Charleston, and the amount that he was popping up in this one, it just felt like kind of a return to business as usual.
Yeah, John, and you mentioned Tampa Bay having kind of started the season off on the wrong foot. I mean, they have 3 defeats in their first 4. It becomes a concern of looking at their next 3 games as being incredibly crucial to kind of jumpstart the rest of the season. They have their home opener finally back at Al Lang this weekend against top of the table of all teams, Loudoun United. Right
Player
now,
Shield favorites, Loudoun United.
Lads, remember the acronym LADS. Loudoun always does this shit. This is how it always works. They will lose like 11 in a row later this season. I mark my words.
Sorry to interrupt there, Ryan.
But still, like you have Tampa Bay who's going to be hosting Loudoun, and then you turn around and you have basically a road trip you can't lose this game against FC Naples in the Open Cup or else we really start asking questions. But then beyond that, you have Louisville. Like these next 3 games, I think really are a tough slate for the Rowdies. Fortunately for them, they don't have to leave the state of Florida for any of these games. In fact, they don't have to leave the state of Florida until May 17th, or May 17th is their last home stretch at this time, depending on Open Cup matches. So there is a chance that they could really kind of bolster their season from here on out with this run, especially since they played Miami back-to-back in this time as well. But yeah, it's these next 3 games, I feel like it's going to be really crucial on what type of Tampa Bay team we're going to see this year.
I want to play the clip that was posted by Charleston Battery really fast, if y'all don't mind. I just want to put it. I just want to put it in there. Just give me a second. Got to pull it up.
Hey, my right? Hey, aquí, hey, aquí, no, hey, aquí, hey, ahí, no voy ahí, no voy ahí, hey, aquí.
Okay. There's a couple things that I want to just kind of throw out there. First off, I didn't know why Cal Jennings was chirping him afterward. Now that makes a lot more sense. It's really funny. B, I'm just going to say it. I don't think it's that bad. It's really funny, but also like you're trying to do anything you can to get into the, taker's head. It's not a bad dive. If it wasn't perfectly bottom left, like he probably saved it. And I know that's, not a fun game to do, but every goalkeeper is going to sound like an idiot when they're saying whatever they are to the taker. I don't hate it. It's funny, but I don't hate it.
Yeah,
Some people are like, this is all.
I reject this entirely. Like, that's a career ender. He should be benched next week, is where I'm at with this. Like, Cal Jennings just took his life.
And then shushed him.
I think if anything, Zamudio kind of psychs himself out because he doesn't dive early enough, like to get all the way over. I think he can save it in the sense that if he knows he's going that way and is going to dive that way, he should just dive that way. It would have been better for him to get all the way across and Cal go the other way than for him to concede in that corner. Like that is just, he should have been laying down like the draft excluder on the free kick just across that corner of like, I dare you to hit it over here. But yeah, conceding on that side, it like, to your point, is it the end of the world? Probably not. I get why Cal Jennings though does give it the big one, as they say at the end, because I mean, you point to that side, you better get all the way over.
And it's against his former team. Like, the emotions are high. You might as well just go all out if you're Cal there.
That's what they brought up on the broadcast was that, he was shushing his former teammate, but he wasn't even his former teammate. It's his former team, but yeah, he wasn't his former teammate. But so I'm glad we got that perspective of seeing the pre-shot chirping.
I maybe unrelated, but I would guess like tangentially related. I have been fascinated by the behavior of players like scoring against their former clubs so far this season, because there has been no like hold the hands up and not celebrate. It has been like big celebrations for guys scoring against their former team. Like even Gabby Torres against Phoenix, like went kind of all out in El Paso, which I love to see, obviously, but that's been very interesting that there's not a lot of the sacred sort of I used to play for them sort of vibe. Everybody just goes for it anyways, which I kind of love, actually.
Maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel like what Cal did would have been different if it was at Al Lang. You know what I mean? It's not like he was in front of former like fans and stuff. It was in front of his own fans, in front of a guy who was telling them where to shoot. This would have been right in front of, I forget what the Rowdy supporters section is called, but like if it was in front of them, thank you. If it was in front of them, maybe he throws the hands up, but he's at home. It doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
Now, if Cal Jennings celebrates at Cashman like that, there will be blood.
It's gonna run over the sideline couch, yeah.
Which USL player is gonna Emmanuel Adebayor run to an away section this year?
Oh gosh. I
Yeah,
guess the
who's the
question
most
is
likely?
who had the worst relationship back
Yeah,
at their old
right.
club, but that's not a conversation I don't think we should have on here. That'd be awful funny though. Any final thoughts on this one before we move on? All right, I want to quickly hit the CBS match, where I watched this match a little bit later, but I was able to catch it. But the only clip that I really saw of this match was some poor fella losing his nachos. May they rest in peace. Um, but
The
it
whole
ends up
nation saw
being
that.
it ends up being a good match, 2-1 win for Phoenix Rising as they play the fullback back line, not a single center back to be seen. As it turns out, vibes are just immaculate, and that's how you win matches. 2-1 win for Phoenix Rising in San Antonio.
I mean, you can't overstate how enormous this was for Phoenix Rising, a club that, even if we've liked the performances, just hadn't led for a single minute all season coming into this game. And I think it was the first match where Pamuduka decided, I'm going to be proactive for the jump. I'm not going to be running out the 4-3-3. And you saw that defensive shape change. Part of it is the availability. Part of it is you want more of a shield for the fact that the back line is really patchwork. But I thought it did wonders to stopping what San Antonio does best. And I think you saw as the second half went on, San Antonio got frustrated. They started to push Almir Soto a little bit further up from the defensive midfield spot. Suddenly, Rising had space to get out on the counter, find touches for Damian Rivera, Jerome Margarita, and Isan Sacco to get out on the break. And that changed the match entirely, set up Rising to get the win. A great performance for them. Not necessarily one where I'm overly concerned about San Antonio. A couple of calls didn't go their way. They had a ton of chances in the box. I think they win this game more often than not if you replay it. But yeah, statement for Phoenix in terms of the arc of where that club is going.
Sort of a big coming out party for Braxton Montgomery in goal. Like, I mean, to get the win here, it was almost completely down to him at the end of the match because, like you said, San Antonio, tons of chances. They were kept out by hook or by crook, and it just felt like at certain points, they're about to concede, and for whatever reason, he was able to see things out. So credit to him coming into what has been obviously a difficult sort of goalkeeping situation in Phoenix, trying to replace Rios Novo, and Rakowski being in there now, Braxton Montgomery getting the shot, young kid, and held his own in a really tough environment.
Tristan Henry in goal, Braxton Montgomery.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Sorry. Tristan Henry. Yeah, sorry. I'm giving flowers.
Same
to the
deal
wrong
though,
guy.
like huge
yeah.
for Henry, who got some minutes in Memphis last year, but really proved like he's up for it.
Yeah.
And this was Phoenix's first win in San Antonio in almost a little over 3 years to the day as well. But we had talked about this club like needing a performance, like to actually get 3 points on the board. This has been a team that had both teams to score in each of their previous games to start the year. We were just kind of waiting to see, it's like, okay, when are they going to get into a rhythm here? And this was a huge match for them. What's going to be really interesting for me is how they measure back up to San Antonio when they play them again in the on April 26th later this month.
I have something that I'm monitoring very closely, which is the precedent that Pamadaka is taking with wearing a full suit in Phoenix. He's going to die.
It's not sustainable.
It's going to be 110 on a Saturday night at some point. He's going to be sweating like nobody's business, and he's going to have a heat stroke in Phoenix.
I'm not saying it'd be better in the East, but he coaches in the West. Like San Antonio, El Paso, Sacramento, Phoenix. Like, I don't think he thought it through.
And I mean, Phoenix.
Las Vegas.
Phoenix is a different kind of heat. Like, for anyone who's been through Phoenix, there 120 that's not really the rest of the Southwest. Like, it does not get that hot. Phoenix is just different. And so, yeah, I can't imagine the state of like a dress shirt under a suit coat in 120. It makes me physically ill to even think about.
Yeah, maybe he's built different, but I would have a bad time with that.
It reminds me of those college basketball coaches who would start the game with their sport coat on, and then within the first TV timeout, after 5 minutes of play, they've already tossed the sport coat off.
Sleeves are rolled up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ties loose.
I will say the tie is probably the craziest part to me. Like he had that thing all the way up. There was no loosening that thing. He was willing to just choke. Like insane. There's no way. But I mean, I know it's not the same as the scarf and like the sweater and all that stuff, but I know we saw Eamon kind of do it. Who was it in Chattanooga that always had the winter scarf on? It wasn't Weekly, but the guy before him.
Obleda.
Yes, thank you. I like you can do it, but it's insane. But anyway,
another outfit note. I don't know if you caught midway through the game, we're doing a sideline interview with Mitchell Tainer, who's got this really great jacket with fringe, and then they pan down, and I think it's alligator boots that he's got on. Just absolutely great stuff from him there.
it's great. Let's go ahead. I want to stay out west. This is a West show after all. And let's talk a little bit about El Paso versus notable Western team, Lexington. And hey, El Paso get another win. Like they just kind of keep it rolling. It's 2-1 to El Paso, where the conversation can be Lexington is really faltering right now. They're really showing that they're a team that keeps signing new players every day, right? Like literally doing that constantly, and they're rotating. But I want to talk more personally about the El Paso side of this. We kind of talked about pregame. They are absolute menaces on set pieces. What they are doing with set pieces is as good as you're going to find in the league. But more of it looks pretty promising. I'm going to just toss it over to Phil first because you are our resident El Paso guy.
Yeah, I mean, we are Set Piece FC. That's what it gets thrown in the group chat every single time. But they have clearly done something, especially from corners. And when you've got, and I think John probably mentioned this in the power rankings and everything this week, like when you have Gabby Torres and Memo Diaz, you exploit set pieces. And essentially Wilmer Cabrera said that after the match in the post-match presser that, hey, when you have people with this sort of delivery and the height that they have on the team with the likes of Palermo Ortiz and Wahab Akwe, like you've got some significant size advantage. So you take advantage of it. But whoever's designing the set pieces, I don't actually know which of the coaches is in charge of that. They've done a really bang up job. And to, have the sort of conversion rate that they have at the beginning of the game. I don't know the corner count from Saturday, but going into the game, they had scored from 8 of the 40 corners they'd taken, which is an insane conversion rate of goals. So they are exploiting, an area where they are strong. The area of concern still in this game is the offensive buildup. Basically there are two things. The offensive buildup when they aren't attacking from a corner, and particularly when Tumi Moshabane is not playing, how the buildup doesn't make as much sense as when he is in there stitching things together. Amando Moreno's asked to do a lot of drifting across the front three. He's dropping deeper to get involved, and then he's not the one on the end of the play, and it just doesn't really make as much sense. And then from a defensive perspective, and we saw this towards the end of the game where Lexington did make a game of it, and I was thinking it is literally just a matter of time before Locomotive concede the equalizer, and hopefully the clock runs out before they do. The goal they concede, and so many times this season, they are not good at defending when they're caught out of shape. They are fantastic at defending when the ball is in front of them and everything's good. If they give the ball away and have to turn back and run to goal, they concede more often than not, and it is a big problem because you're not always going to be in shape to defend, and you have to be able to react in those moments, and they react so poorly that it is a real area of concern. But overall, this was a bit of a tricky game. I think at times Lexington like did some good stuff and just wasn't able to like have as much of a dangerous end product, especially in the first half. They were pretty wasteful, I think, of some good touches in the box. But yeah, overall, a good performance, from El Paso, but not perfect. And I think the cracks are pretty clear still.
I think what impressed me in terms of the defensive approach, because you're right to note that this team is very good when they're organized and they can keep the ball in front of them. There was really some freedom for Wahab Akwe and Palermo Ortiz to step up and mark the number 10s in that Lexington kind of 3-box-3 shape. And that's the way to stop this Lexington team. And I think it's why it was such a strong start for the Locomotive in this match. And then you build up to the set pieces. Then you get the second goal from Torres, or rather the assist from Torres, where he gets the interception to start the play, which was fantastic to see. That's really the template that El Paso has to follow as the season goes on. If I'm Lexington, I think I'm concerned about the striker spot. The fact that El Paso could so actively step up as they did was a knock-on effect from Corey Burke not really providing a threat. It was Marcus Epps and Kieran Sargent feeling a bit isolated on the wings and not having the freedom to get inside. We've seen some good signs from what Terry Boss wants to do, but I think they're not quite there yet in terms of the personnel at striker and that kind of plan B when a team knows how to game plan for you. So yeah, two teams that I think are going to be in the mix possibly for home field advantage if they play their cards right in a very open West, but a lot to learn from this match.
Yeah, by the way, just full transparency, I asked Ryan if he knew how many wins El Paso had at home since 2023. And it's been 8 at home since 2023 and 2024, right? It has been an absolute house of horrors for El Paso to play at home. And there was a lot of...
And remember, in 2021, they did not lose a single home match. So it has not always been that way. But yeah. Until the playoffs. But that was, we won't talk about that.
But honestly, what I kind of walk away with was at the very end, there was visible relief from El Paso players, right? Like most of the time you don't see players looking relief if they won at home. That it's just like, oh, let's celebrate with the fans. Like they've looked relaxed. And honestly, that made me feel more confident in El Paso. It's like, oh, okay, we can do it. We can win here at home. Crazy thing to say. It's not like the support's bad and they play in, what seems like an empty stadium with a sub atmosphere. Like they've had 5,000 fans of this match. I mean, there's a decent atmosphere going on there. So it was just very nice to see that. For Lexington, I'm with you, John. Like you see how Boss wants to play and you're seeing the structure of what's there. I understand what you're saying with the striker position's not what you want it to be, but also you've bought 30 players and you didn't buy the right striker. Like, what are we doing? Right? Is that just is that scouting department not doing their job? Is that some players just look different on film than they do in person? Or maybe I don't know. I don't know what's going on or what kind of striker actually fits the bill of what they're looking for. Clearly that is the whole, but what are they looking for?
It's an interesting question on all the fronts you raised up because like Cameron Lancaster starts game 1. He's not played since, and he only had 1 shot in that match. Valesky, pretty clearly a backup. Now they've got Hugo Mbonge on loan. He feels like he might be the answer, somebody who was quite good with San Antonio in limited minutes. I've liked when they've used Braulio Rodriguez as not a false 9, but a little bit more of somebody who's technical, who can link play, more of an active runner. We'll see what gives because I like so much of Boss's system, even if I feel like they're one position away from really getting over the line.
Well, that's really, unless anybody has any final thoughts on this one.
Go for it.
I would say I thought with Lexington this year, I'd have at least like 3 or 4 feel-good stories about League One players moving up with the team, and then I look at the roster and I don't recognize anybody except for Brooks Thompson.
Yeah.
I was going to say for El Paso, this is their first time having back-to-back wins, with the match also having over 2.5 goals since the end of April 2023, or when the Super Mario Brothers movie was in theaters. But the one match that I'm looking at for this upcoming weekend is that was April 2023. But the one match I'm looking forward to this upcoming weekend is the fact that per American Soccer Analysis, Lexington has the most XG generated, and they're going up against Las Vegas, who has the fewest XG generated this year. So kind of a sickos match that we all know is probably going to end up being like Las Vegas winning 1-0.
So basically, release the Mario movie, release the Minecraft movie. When the Roblox movie hits, they're winning the USL.
Release the horses.
I will say when that was happening for El Paso winning back-to-back wins with over 2.5 goals, they were in the midst of a 7-game winning streak,
which was quickly followed by one of the worst stretches of the. Anyways,
hey, listen, Phil, you can always enjoy the fact that 7-match winning streak. The very last win was my wedding day, and you ruined it. So, you know.
Well, get ready for Saturday, Kaylor. I'm glad I get to bear personal responsibility for that as well. That'll be fun for the rest of our friendship.
Of course.
The last couple of shouts about this is that to the striker point, to just with Lexington to just really nail that one. They actually have 12 passes, completed passes into El Paso's box in this game, and very little to show for it in terms of actual shots generated. And that to me just screams that it's they need somebody who's on the end of these, who is able to receive the ball, back to goal and turn and shoot. And then the second shout, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Gabby Torres in the sense that gets player of the week in USL Championship, and rightfully so in terms of an assist or 2 assists, in the first half here, and so on both goals. So the from the corner, and then in the press, just similar, not the same as Tampa Bay Sun's goal, but similar in that he baits the pass, latches onto the ball, and then is able to slide a pass through for Andy Cabrera. So yeah, it was a very, very strong performance from Gabby Torres, who I think is in terms of the early returns, probably the signing of the season so far for El Paso.